who's actually going to get the most out of a WaterRower Walnut with the S4 BLE monitor? Is it a solid pick for someone who just wants a reliable cardio option in a small apartment? Or does it belong in a dedicated home gym where you're already spending a lot on equipment? And for the everyday buyer wondering whether the price tag is justified, does the rowing experience outweigh the space and maintenance trade-offs? Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. If you've ever tried a cheap magnetic rower that feels more like a wobbling treadmill, you know how frustrating it can be to invest in something that never quite mimics the feel of water. The WaterRower Walnut tries to solve that by using a genuine water tank for resistance, which creates a smooth, self-adjusting pull that many users compare to rowing on an actual lake. That smoothness is the core reason people pick this model over the metal frame alternatives, but it also brings a few practical considerations that aren't obvious until you actually unbox it. First, let's talk about the space factor. The machine measures about 82 inches long, 20 inches high, and 22 inches wide, and it weighs just over 100 pounds once the tank is filled. For a typical studio apartment, the length can be a hurdle, but the design lets you store it on its end when you're not using it. I've seen it tucked into a corner of a living room, standing vertically against a wall, and the walnut finish actually blends nicely with home decor. If you're comfortable lifting a 100-pound piece of furniture occasionally, the vertical storage solves the "it takes up my whole floor" anxiety. If you can't lift that much, you'll need a helper or a dolly, and that's a hidden cost you should factor in. The real selling point is the S4 Bluetooth-enabled monitor. It pairs with most fitness apps, so you can see stroke rate, heart rate, if you wear a compatible strap, and total distance on your phone or tablet. In practice, that means you can set a 20-minute interval workout, let the app track your splits, and see real-time progress without juggling a separate display. For someone who likes data-driven training, it feels like a premium gym experience at home. On the flip side, the monitor relies on a stable Wi-Fi connection. If you live in a spot with spotty internet, you might find the data lagging or disconnecting, which can be irritating mid-session. Now, who should definitely consider this rower? If you're a beginner who wants a low-impact cardio option that's gentle on the joints, the water resistance automatically adjusts to your effort. You can start with a relaxed pace and the resistance will increase as you pull harder, without you having to crank a knob. That makes it ideal for people recovering from injury, older adults, or anyone who wants a full-body workout without pounding the knees. It also works well for cross-training athletes, runners, cyclists, and swimmers who need to engage the posterior chain in a way that complements their primary sport. On the other hand, you might want to skip this model if you're primarily after high-intensity interval training with rapid resistance changes. Because the water tank provides a smoother, more gradual resistance curve, you won't feel the same hard stop that a magnetic or air rower delivers when you push the handle fast. Competitive rowers who need to simulate the exact feel of a racing shell often prefer a more aggressive resistance system. Also, if you're budgeting tightly, the walnut finish and U.S. craftsmanship push the price higher than many entry-level models that still offer decent performance. Let's walk through a typical day using the WaterRower in a home setting. I imagined a morning routine where you get up, roll the rower out of its vertical position, hop on, and do a 15-minute warm-up before work. The water tank stays quiet, no clanking, just the subtle splash of water moving so you can keep the TV on or listen to a podcast without drowning out the sound. After the session, you simply tilt the machine back upright and slide it into a corner. The whole process takes under 5 minutes, which is a big win for busy people who dread lengthy setup. What about maintenance? The water tank does need occasional top-ups. The manufacturer recommends adding distilled water every few months to keep the level steady. It's not a huge chore, but it's something you have to remember. If you live in a hard water area, you might notice mineral buildup over time, which can affect the smoothness of the resistance. A quick rinse with fresh water can mitigate that, but it's an extra step that cheap rowers don't require because they have sealed resistance mechanisms. Durability is another point worth mentioning. The walnut frame is handcrafted in the US, and the wood not only looks premium but also absorbs vibrations, reducing wear on moving parts. In real-world use, that translates to fewer squeaks and a longer lifespan, assuming you keep the wood protected from spills and direct sunlight. However, the weight of the wood means you can't easily move the rower.